It's the Kacee Allen Show.
So this past week, Congress reauthorized a bill from the 70s that's a serious threat to our individual freedoms and liberties. Doesn't matter who you are, if you're an American citizen, you are affected by this. And this dates back to the 70s, like I said, when Ted Kennedy brought this to Congress's attention in 77, when he thought that, maybe we should look into this because the ability of government leaders to abuse their power is very possible. That eventually gets signed into law under the Jimmy Carter administration. He does it himself in 1978. I believe it was October 25th when that happened. And it essentially gets provisions as time goes on. We get the Freedom of Information Act, we get the Patriot Act, we get several provisions that pave the way to what happened just last week in Congress. 86 Republicans voted to reauthorize this overreach of the Constitution. I mean, this bill that is a serious threat and imposes serious harm to every single American citizen. It essentially destroys the Fourth Amendment, which is protecting our private rights and unlawful searches and seizures. What this new bill in 2024 that was reauthorized is intending to accomplish is the complete surveillance state of American citizens, government leaders, and everyone that is on American soil. See, it was originally that we had these organizations to deter international threats and terrorists. Now this has been weaponized against our own people in just a short 15 to 20 years. But slowly over time, like I said, the provisions and the Patriot Act, which again was brought on by Barack Obama and George Bush. They were no help in that. They essentially are responsible for the treachery on the American people today. No thanks to them. But the key component here is that they are destroying our liberty. They're knowingly trying to destroy the American people's will and say and individual privacy. So, like I said, 86 Republicans voted on this. I'll pull that up shortly to expose every single rhino and neocon that is trying to take our freedom, is knowingly trying to take everyone's individual rights. So it should be known, it should be exposed that these people are not real Republicans. They are not part of the conservative America First nationalist movement. These are essentially puppets that are put into place and paid by taxpayer money that are just actors for the deep state and Washington, D.C.'s interests. So it should be known that all these people are frauds. And this is a serious threat to our own people. This is a scary precedent, no different than the southern border, the election interference. This is the very privacy of our own citizens. The fact that we have gone this far to weaponize our Department of Justice against our own people. I mean, this is a serious comparison to communism. This isn't really capitalism anymore. This is essentially a communistic type of ideology that they're imposing on the people here. They essentially want everything to be regulated. They want everything to be organized, documented within their control. And this is part of what I talk about all the time, the Agenda 21. This is part of stealing our freedoms, like I say, every day. And I've said in podcasts before, they are trying to take our freedoms very slowly, and it's working. It's working on their part. They are winning. I mean, we're fighting back. There is good resistance, but they are winning. They are accomplishing these things. They're being passed within Congress. It's infiltrated the Republican Party. It's not just the Democrats that are essentially responsible for this. This is an infiltration of our Constitution. There's no simple or no other way to look at it. So you have no ability to protect yourself anymore from these deep state bureaucrats. If they want to deem anyone a criminal, they can automatically seize your house, they can search your house, they can seize your property, they can do anything. The Fourth Amendment practically doesn't exist anymore, as sad as it is to say. So think about this. Law enforcement commented on this and said, search warrants uphold and make it so much more difficult for them to prosecute criminals and people they deem criminals. So they're essentially going along with this, saying it is okay that this Fourth Amendment does not need to be respected anymore. We can just trounce right over it, just like they do with everything else. They redefine laws, they add provisions. We've seen the power of the surveillance state grow ever since the Obama administration took off. Then we saw what Edward Snowden showed the world. The NSA are spying on their very civilians, innocent people, without their knowing and consent. So these aren't new things. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. This surveillance state, this overreach of the justice system is nothing new. And they just easily get it to work in their favor. It happens every single time. And like I always say, they're going to continue to take our freedoms, and eventually we're not even going to have a First Amendment. I mean, it's getting very scary to the point where the Constitution is being broken, and it's acceptable to the people who are in power. I mean, to the establishment, the leading class, they are endorsing these ideas. They're letting it happen. And our freedoms are slowly diminishing every single day. And this is becoming a communist-like state, or a communist-like country. And it's going to take real resistance to stop it. I mean, these guys aren't going to stop anytime soon. If the tyrants, the globalists in power that are infiltrating America can continue to elect leaders who are going to do their bidding, well, they're certainly going to do so. They're going to find the people that will. They're going to find the 86 Republicans that thought this was okay. I mean, I don't know how in your right mind you can think that spying on the American people is in our best interests. And how is it in your best interest? That's just wasting money that could be used for other resources and other things. How is that a good investment? I don't see that at all. It is nothing that the founding fathers would like. They would be frowning upon this. I'm sure they are, somewhere in heaven or somewhere beyond the grave. These are serious threats against our Constitution, against the Republic. This is going to cause a serious resistance. This will cause very big backlash with everybody. I mean, you can't just trounce over the amendments like this. You can't just degrade them to this level. This is not the American way. And like it says in the Constitution, if the government is not doing its job and it essentially needs to be abolished, then it's the people's right to do so and establish a new government. And when to say when? It's a real question. So here's the list of the 86 Republicans that betrayed not only the Constitution, not only the American people, but every aspect of our American culture. The reauthorization of this FISA bill is an absolute disgrace to our country, and the fact that these Republicans signed off on it is disgraceful. It's a shame. I mean, you saw Dan Crenshaw, you saw Don Bacon, you saw these so-called MAGA America Firsters. How are you America First when you're selling out your own people? You're taking their taxpayer money and making decisions that are not in their interest, knowingly not in their interest. You're sabotaging their privacy rights. You're destroying the liberty and the constitutional foundation in which this country was founded on, in which the founding fathers founded this country on. They're doing nothing but pissing on their grave and absolutely making a fool of themselves, wanting to call themselves American patriots. This is a joke. This is treachery to the fullest, to disregard and disrespect the Constitution. Every governor and every senator should be speaking up and speaking out against this. This is ridiculous. I mean, that's the thing. If you own a home, if you own any property, I mean, anyone has property, a backpack, an individual item, you have the right to not have that seized or searched without reasonable doubt. Now they're saying you don't even need that. They can just look in your backpack. They can enter your home. That is not the way at all. Because obviously mistakes are made, and there is a boundary between, the legal ability and giving rights to people. So you cannot let that line cross, and that's essentially what they've done by allowing police officers to simply search your belongings and storm right into your house if they think it's, necessary. They don't need a warrant to do so. They don't need probable cause. They can just essentially do it. So that's a serious serious problem. I mean, like I said, if you own anything, you have the right, you have the privacy to that. Essentially what it's doing is it's devaluing real estate. What this is now doing, it actually decreases the store of value of real estate and owning a home. Because if that home is now subject to the government's rules or subject to whatever the government wants, like being able to storm in and seize any property at any time, you don't own that home. The government does. You are not the owner of that establishment. So it's like, okay, well, if you're trying to invest in the best thing in the world, doesn't seem like real estate's number one, might as well just buy all the Bitcoin you can. I mean, seriously, that's the one thing that they actually can't control. That's really what that does. It's going to devalue the fundamental business mindset when it comes to real estate. People are going to say, well, the value of a home is not actually, the value of what it currently is if it can be subject to government search and seizure without a warrant. I mean, you get it? That's the serious devaluation of the real estate market, and that's going to cause a lot of fundamental backlash, because that is a serious change. I mean, that's just like saying the government has every seed phrase of every person's Bitcoin wallet. That would be unraveling. That would be serious unrest for everybody. Obviously, that's not possible, and if it is, it hasn't happened yet. But that's what happened with the physical home, the physical property. It hasn't happened to digital property yet. Like I said, it very well could. But this is in the landscape of physical property. Owning a home, owning a bag, owning a pair of sneakers, owning a PlayStation, owning anything, owning a car. I mean, these are your personal possessions. These are property by law that cannot be searched and seized without probable cause or a warrant to do so. Again, not good news at all. This could make some serious impact in the real estate market, and definitely will when it comes to privacy and security. We have now been infiltrated by the deep state and the surveillance state to the max. So it'll be a real change, I think. It really does give law enforcement the upper hand. It gives them a lot of power. It's a serious overreach, and there will be backlash. There will be tyranny that takes place. There will be serious issues, and people that are going to have their freedoms taken away for unreasonable purposes and unconstitutional purposes when it comes down to it. It's pretty crazy, like I said, and we'll talk more on this next time. But other than that, it's been pretty slow in the news. We've had, obviously, the Iranian consulate that got bombed in Syria, and the war with Iran is definitely the number one thing right now. It's actually scary that we're this close to getting into war with them, and we'll be doing more on that this week. Go to my Twitter. You can see everything there. It's at Kacee Allen. You'll get the full coverage on the Iranian crisis and how possibly Iran is going to bomb Israel tonight. We're not for sure, but it's looking very possible. So go check that out. You can also check out our channel at Rumble. That's at Kacee Allen. And we have locals. That's at Kacee Allen Show. Check out everything in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.